Hey there, it's Zuna is in love with Webflow. I'm sure you've probably seen this design somewhere on X. If you've not seen this, then you should be seeing something like this. And you're also wondering how does one build this out responsibly in Webflow. I'll give you a step-by-step guide on how to get this responsibly built on Webflow. And you can also take this out of Webflow and post the code somewhere else you would fancy. For this, you'll be needing three things: responsive container blocks, responsive arcs, and use of responsive units. Now, look closely. This is what mine looks like. So to start, you'd have to add to your main wrapper a div block, give it a tag of section, and you then put in another div block for the page padding. The page padding is a replica of your Figma designs margin, and that will be the design margin, which is here 60 pixels divided by 16 rems, and that will be your page padding. After that, you will have to add a div block for the container large, which is the background image that we are seeing here, because the background image spans more than the allocated space will have been. So this is what your design will look like if you follow the steps closely. I'm going to explain to you how you get here. Once you add in your div block for your container large, which is the same width as the image width for the background from Figma, you would then have to put in a text wrap, and that text wrap will have all these text containers that houses the H1, the paragraph, the icons, and avatars. So just by way of further explanation of how you get here, I brought in this video of freeform objects just to explain. So now the brown image being our container large, then after that we have our padding section small as the orange, and now the teal will be our hero BG or hero container, the first main container of this section, and this container will be relative while its children will be absolute, except this pink one, which will be the image for the background. The image will have a position of static. Then after that we can have a text wrap, and now this text wrap I will color blue, and that will be our text wrap that holds all the text blocks. And I hope that will be a clearer explanation of how you get there. And now I'll slide in a picture of the page structure. As I explained before, our section hero will have our padding global, which was based on the width of our margin, which was 60 divided by 16 rem, followed by our container large, which I told you I used the image wrap, the image size from Figma. Don't forget that I used the combo class on the padding global to reduce it from 60 pixels to about 24 pixels converted to rems. And as I explained before, the hero BG, which is the main container inside of this section, or the hero container, is relative and has a child of hero BG image, which is our background image. And that background image, I did not affect the width or height of it, I just left it where it was. It's followed by the hero 2 text container, hero 2 because I already have another hero before, just created this inside the same file. So this container is absolute, and so it will sit over the hero BG image while still inside the hero BG container, so to create that overlap that you see. And this hero BG hero text container is 100% height and width of the hero BG height and width. Now inside of the hero text container we have the hero first text block, and that will be based on the height and width of the text block from Figma. And before I continue, let's do some little calculations. Now the container large, which determines the width of the hero BG, is 1408 pixels based on the picture width in Figma, and we divide that by 16 rems, we get 88 rems. And now to calculate the first text block inside of our text wrap, we look at our text block inside Figma, and that one is 764 by 231. So 764 is the width. We divide that by the background width, which is 1408, multiply that by 100%, and we'll apply that directly But for the height, I didn't apply it directly to the same div block. I put in another div block which I called hero text block contain. You can name it whatever you like. So far you know what you're doing. And then I made my calculations and applied it to this new div block for the height. This div block is also relative to itself, as well as the fact that its children are absolute to it. Now let's show the height in Figma. This is the height, and to the calculations now, it will be 197 divided by the width of its own self, which is 764, multiplied by 100%. And now we will apply this directly to the padding of the div block, which is the hero text contain. And then to determine where the hero text block itself will sit, we have to measure that from the left and right hand side in Figma, and then we'll divide that by the width of the hero background, multiply that by 100%, and apply it to it on its left and right hand side, because the block itself is relative. And now as we apply it to the left hand side, we can actually see it there, and we'll do it now to the right hand side. 288 divided by 1408 multiplied by 100%. We'll take the value and then apply it again to the right hand side. To create the second block, we just duplicate our first block, and it will of course come below that, and then we'll rename the class, change the values, and update whatever needs to be updated. For the paragraph, I would go copy the first paragraph and paste it back, just so we speed up. This is just me updating the values from the second div block right from Figma straight into my Webflow designer. And now you can see that the left and right margins are changing, and now when we preview it, you will see that it's completely responsive. Now let me show you clearly. You can see it scales up, and of course it scales down. Now I'm just trying to create the arc, and I've dropped in a div block and I've given it the same class of my former arc, but I would create the arc with you by duplicating the class and resetting the values. Now I'm going to give the arc a defined width and height. This width and height has to be the same thing, because where the blocks meet forms a right angle. So as such, I have to create a perfect square. The height will of course be 70 as the width is 70, but I'll convert them to rems. Then I also put the overflow to hidden, so that you would obviously not see any overflow. This is important because when I want to create the arc radius, which will also be absolute, and I move it up and down as an absolute object to the arc itself, it will not overflow. Now I want to position the arc to the top left of this div block, which is div block 2, and which is the container wrap 2. So I will just click on that on the top left where it is, and of course it will now be staying on the top left of that container or the text block. Now to create that, I would have to eyeball it and move it to the position I want it to be, but as you can see, I'm using percentages, which is not good practice. I will show you why in a second. And now if I preview it, you will notice that there's an issue with that technique. Now if you look to the top of the first div block, you will see the overflow of that arc, which is not what I'm looking for. So now to correct that, I'll start by creating my arc radius, which I didn't actually show you earlier, but now I'll show you where it is. Inside of my arc, I'll create my arc radius. This arc radius will have the same height and width of its parent, which is the arc itself. And that will be obviously 70 pixels divided by 16 rems on both height and width. After that, I'll go and work on the borders. Now for the borders, I'll pick the top and right, because obviously I want this to be top and right of that div block, and I'll set it to 1 rem on both sides. Not the entire border, but just the top and left. 1 rem, same color as the text blocks containers. And then I'll give it a corner radius of 24 on the top left. Sorry, top right. Note that this is an independent corner radius, and it will be on just one angle, which is the top right of the border. Now the usefulness of the absolute positioning of this arc radius comes to play when I want to position it to where I want it to be. So because it's on the top right, I would actually use rems, negative rems, -1 rem on top and -1 rem on the bottom to set the position. It seems to be that the arc is disappearing, but don't worry, I would adjust it to fit. And now when we preview it, we'll notice that it doesn't seem to show because the background is quite bright, and also of course the arc is looking very, very small. So I will duplicate this arc and then put it into the first text block on the right hand side as well, just to show you a clearer view of it. Now I would also give it a 2D transform so that we can turn the arc to the direction we want it to be. Obviously the last time we created it on the top right of the arc. The radius was created on the top right. Now to change that direction to the top left, we would rotate the arc itself by -90 degrees. You also notice that the top right corner of the text block has been returned to 0, so that arc will show clearly. Now time to edit the arc to show a better curve. Remember, the initial positioning was at -1 rem, so we'll just do trial and error to either increase or reduce it, just to find out where we perfectly fit and show a better looking curve or radius. Now this seems to me like 0.7, 0.8 is a good fit on the left hand, on the top margin. And as for the right hand side, it seems like even after increasing and reducing, leaving it at -1 rem was just fine. And now as I preview it, you'll notice it has a very beautiful looking curve, which will apply obviously to the second arc, which was the first arc we created. Very responsive, and of course does not lag behind. Now we can also edit this across different breakpoints and create final results by editing the positions on both the top and left margins. Seems to me like this is not bad. And now to perfect the arc we created earlier, I'll go back and change the percentages that we complained about before, now to rems. Again, it's still trial and error until we perfect it. And now when we preview it, we should have a better sense of an arc on that left hand side of the text container or text block. And now you already have a fairly good idea of how to create this design, create an arc in Webflow, and get on any similar projects. Thanks for watching this video. Goodbye.